much for coming. Hi, Emilio.
Hello, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I
We're
am
next stop on the book tour. You've had
yeah,
a busy week.
yes, I'm thrilled to
So,
be here with you today.
oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I'm going to make this a little higher so that my head's not cut off. Let's see.
Oh, okay.
And then
You go
and I
ahead.
think we
I'll be
have
giving
some
people time to log
pictures. We'll let people come in for a moment.
in. Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. Okay, that I think is a little better. Maybe. There. Sorry. I was set up, and then when you go live with the other person, it sort of gets strange, no? How's that, Emilio?
Well, I
Do I look
think
like
at least we are a well-read group of
Yes,
people who love our books. All our
exactly.
design books in the background.
We love our books. I know. I love your bookshelf, and we're going to look a little bit at that soon. Hi,
Oh,
Mark.
okay.
I think, okay, let me see. You can see the green window in my glasses. All right, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. That's better.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. It looks
Yeah.
serious, right?
Oh, I
We're
thought
going
it
to
was
have a real chat.
I thought it was flirty. Woo.
Oh, flirty? So I don't even know what that is anymore. Hey, Stefania. Okay, we'll just do a few more minutes. Just let people come in. Oh, hi, Trudy. How nice to see you. Oh my gosh. It's fun. You've been, it's quite a difference now than it would have been under different circumstances, right?
Yes, but you know what? I think that the technology that we have, allows us to continue communicating in a very efficient way, and then we can look forward to connecting in person later in the year, in the autumn.
Absolutely. When everybody has read your book from cover to cover.
Now they and and stay at home and enjoy it, and then we can catch up in the
Exactly.
autumn.
Make a cup of tea.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, maybe should we get started?
Yes, it looks like people
Yeah.
are, and others will
Let's
join
do it.
go along.
Watch this for a moment, though. I
What?
think.
Yeah.
Huh. Oh, I was just trying to. Oh, wait. I've got it. Let's start.
Oh, there is the book, Bold British Design,
Bold British Design. So thank
launched
you, everyone,
today.
for coming. Thank you for coming to Interiors Academy today. I want to introduce a man who needs no introduction, Emilio Pimentel-Reid, who is an amazing editor, stylist, and brand consultant, and a co-founder of Interiors Academy. So we're here today for the launch of Emilio's new book, Bold British Design. The publisher is Hardy Grant Quadrille, and he worked on this with the photographer Sarah Hogan, and it is just an amazing peek into the houses of, some of Britain's best and brightest creatives in the interiors world. So we want to thank Emilio for making this a stop on the virtual book tour. You can see here the wonderful cover. Okay, so let's get started. I have some questions for you, Emilio. Let's just start at the beginning. In your introduction, you say that you're a British citizen by choice. And I wonder if you can tell us a little bit about that choice and your path to living and working in England. I know you worked
Well,
in fashion, design. You tell us.
correct. I was born in the Dominican Republic. I have been living in England this time around for 15 years. I worked in fashion in New York. I studied at Parsons. And when I was working in fashion, a magazine came out in the 90s called Nest. And I thought that it was the most amazing thing because it featured everything from palaces to prison cells and igloos, and showcase the personality of the person who had created interior. And so while I was there, one of the editors had studied at Sotheby's in London, and told me about the MA in Fine and Decorative Art. And so I first moved to London as a student, and I studied history of fine and decorative art at Sotheby's in London. Then I went back to New York, and I worked with someone who has been a great mentor, Vincent Wolfe, and I ran Vincent's showroom at the time, VW Home. And then I had an opportunity to move to London for love, and I did. And then I landed at Elle Decoration magazine, and I became their decorating editor. And I was there for many years before starting my own freelance practice. So, I mean, basically, my path has been to follow my interests. I had no idea that my job as a stylist and an editor like really existed. And you know, slowly you discover things, and I think it's so important to just follow what feels right. And that has been my path. And so I then moved back to London after working with Vincent, and I've been here 15 years.
That's amazing. I mean, Nest was the most amazing kind of magazine, really ahead of its time, really crazy. That hospital room story with Mario, wasn't it?
Yes.
Amazing. We have to all go back and see if we can find some of those. So it's an amazing background, and has really culminated in this book that I think could only have been made by someone who's really seen a lot over the years. So, and you have an interesting perspective on British design, which is something you love very much and are very committed to. So I want you to talk a little bit about what British design means to you. What is British design? What is bold British design?
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you know, as a simple starting point, to me, British design is design created in the UK, and therefore I have included people who come from all over the world, who started out in other places like me, and have made this country home. And we have become part of the industry here. So my photographer, you know, my co-author and photographer, Sarah Hogan, she's Irish. We have people in the book like Itomi Osono, who's Japanese and studied in Denmark and at the Royal College. People like Melina Horn, who's Greek. Peter Gomez, who is from Gibraltar. So quite a range of people who call this country home. And then to me, British design is many things, and it's all at the same time. It's very traditional, and it respects history while also being extremely modern. There's handmade, while at the same time really pushing technology. And I wanted to make sure that the book reflected that diversity, because you know, we're not all like Downton Abbey, and we're not all Zaha Hadid's studio, but both exist within the umbrella of British design.
And you have a really broad range. I want to talk about just a few of the people in the book and how their houses reflect your point of view on British design. I know this is a house from someone who is really, you know, in the upper echelons of, let's say, British tradition, and yet it's a very modern, free, and well put together house.
Yes, so that is Lucy Hammond-Giles' kitchen in Holland Park. And Lucy is one of the senior designers at Sybil Colfax and John Fowler. Obviously, you know, one of the top firms in the world. And I wanted to include somebody like Lucy, because Lucy is used to working with, you know, very grand clients. And I wanted to show our readers how she lives at home and how she chooses to live at home. And it's a beautiful interior that is put together with such skill by someone who is a trained craftsman. As an interior designer, to me, is a skill and a craft. It's comfortable. It's well considered. It feels like a home. It's stylish. It's warm. there's her collections are there. Her life is reflected in how she lives. Her children's room is spectacular, incorporating things that she bought many years ago. You know, her boys even have a floral blind in their room, which, you know, but done in a way that, you know, floral isn't masculine or feminine. It's just a beautiful pattern. So Lucy's there because she's trained in the tradition of the great British decorators, and she's extremely modern and dynamic and bold.
Mm-hmm. And I wish we could show more pictures, but we're only allowed to show 3. So this is a very, very sneak peek. And then you can get the book on our website and Interiors Academy and other places as well.
Exactly. There's a link on Interiors Academy.
Exactly. I think we'll go to the next, another person to highlight, and then talk about how this book kind of came together, whether the concept came first, or if you had a number of houses you just liked and then sort of saw the thread. I'm going to move to my next picture. That one didn't come up so well. I'm sorry. The vertical.
Okay, well,
technical difficulties.
I've posted some pictures on my Instagram feed at What Emilio Saw, and there's some on Interiors Academy as well. Hopefully this is a taster. This is Yinka Ilori's studio. Yinka is British Nigerian, and he's a designer to watch right now. And what I liked about him was that I always thought that the British love color, but Yinka comes from a Nigerian tradition, and he thinks that we're not colorful enough. And you see color and energy and life and vibrancy and the influence of growing up with his Nigerian parents in the UK. And for me, that was very important, because I think that this is a very welcoming and international country, and that's reflected in our design.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting because you included workspaces alongside living spaces, and I thought that was a really interesting choice. Feels relevant right now, but was something that you had wanted to do the whole way along.
Correct.
Can you do that a bit?
Yes, well, obviously, you know, people are very proud of their homes, and we feature homes. But the designers that I've included in the book work in all sorts of interiors disciplines. So we have ceramicists, we have furniture designers, wallpaper designers, fabric designers, the range. And I saw these as the ingredients of a room. And as an editor and a stylist, I get to see behind the scenes, but I also have an appreciation of all the hard work that goes into producing the wonderful objects that we bring into our interiors. And I wanted to give our readers a sense of, you know, not just showing, okay, this is a, you know, a completed home, but actually showing some of those elements and how they're created. So there's people like Itomi Osono, who is a ceramicist with Adrian Sassoon Gallery, who has also collaborated with Wedgwood. And you walk into her studio, and there are all of these boxes, and they contain her pieces that she sometimes dries for a year or two. So this is kind of the attention to detail that some of these designers focus on and deliver.
And I love that kind of, the idea of slowness that you get through her work is something that really feels important to us now more than ever, in light of so much technology, in light of being at home. And I think also speaks to the idea of a book, because really that is the luxury of the book, that you have this time to dig in, to really read deeply, to look deeply, get out your magnifying glass and look at every detail. And I think they serve to both educate and inspire in ways that other media can't. And so, you know, thank you for doing a book. I wanted you to talk, so speaking of the boxes and everything in Hitomi's studio, you're a stylist, but for this book, how much styling did you do? Like when, where, and why? And, you know, this question of realness. When is realness okay? When is it not? When does that plastic water bottle work? When do you have to get rid of it?
Yeah.
Can you?
Well, we featured 21 interiors. And so from a logistical point of view, I wanted to make sure that these were all spaces that were, worthy from, the beginning. You do have to move things around so that they fit the format of a photograph. There was styling required, but I like to think that my hand is not too obvious. And when I looked at the pictures in the end, some of the things that I styled more weren't so apparent, and some things that I didn't touch looked styled because that's how some of the designers live.
Interesting.
But I
I
think
love, go on, sorry.
But I did want to show real interiors. It was very important for me to show how people really live, not their brands, but themselves.
And I think their personalities really come through. And you have amazing people there. I mean, amazing people who live with beautiful things. Guy Tobin, Hal Messel, people who live with just really fine things in a stylish way. So it's not sort of about, and I think that's one of the things you talked to me about, was not wanting this book to feel too fancy. So I wonder if you could speak to that a little, because it seemed like an interesting concept.
Well, I think that, well, I mean, good design is not tied necessarily to a price point or a size of an interior or anything like that. So I didn't want to focus on that. And I wanted to show people who are comfortable with their own style. There's, I included Peter Gomez's flat in West London. Peter Gomez is a head designer at Sophany, and Sophany has its own image. It has, all of its photography that it produces, and it looks like Sophany and all that. But I wanted to show Peter at home in a 1970s building in West London, in a very industrial part of the city, bringing in, his textiles and living with them in a really natural, comfortable way. And then mixed in with vintage furniture and his own collections and things that he shares with his partner. The book is not meant as a how-to, but a why not, in the sense that you should be free to express yourself and who you are. And hopefully when you look at these studios and interiors, you feel encouraged to live how you want to live. So I as a stylist, I can, and have, put together a book of, interiors that look a certain way. I've worked with interior designers on their own books and all that, and that's a different sort of project. But I wanted to show, this is the reality of all of the talented people in our industry and how they really live with great flair.
And they do. And I think it's interesting because you can also see that they live with great flair. They appear to throw things together, but these things are thrown together with a wealth of experience, underpinning the interior. So I wonder if you can talk to design rules that you do believe in addition to be yourself.
I think that there's certain things that you, this is a very good question, Sabine, because there are rules that you learn, but I think that to have a successful interior, you need to break away from that. So there's certain ideas of balance and scale and comfortable, and being able to get around your interior and making sure that your interior is functional. All those things are really important. And in the book, I'll use Lucy as an example. Lucy has a guest bedroom in her house, and it's so well put together in the sense that the room just works. It's comfortable. You can get around. She plays with pattern and scale. The curtains actually keep the light out and they keep you warm. Design does all the things that it needs to do. So maybe that's her not necessarily following rules, but knowing what to do as a professional. And then she's mixed in things that came from her grandfather and family objects, and that's given it warmth and made it her own.
Mhm.
So I'm not big on rules. Guy Tobin, who is an antiques dealer, said that he's never been taught the rules, so he doesn't know if he's breaking them or not. And yet he created a wonderful interior filled with amazing things that works really well.
It does work really well. So speaking of personal style, let's move to your place. I'm so
Oh, God.
excited. We have a picture of Amelia's own place here, which is a nice transition from Lucy's because we go from my favorite green to green.
Oh,
Yay. Let's talk about your own place a little. Tell us about your flat, what you love about living in Bath, and
yeah.
also how this interior came together.
So I moved to Bath, I think 3 years ago, and I'm a commuter to London, or now a Zoomer into, into London. And I live on 2 floors of a Regency building in beautiful Bath. So the proportions are great, the windows are huge, and I get lots of light. And that is my library and home office. So I have a lot of my books there. That interior came together, I guess, with things that I gathered over time. There's a gold table there that I call it my gold poo, but it's actually a table by Frederickson Stallard
Mm.
from David Gill Gallery that I spotted at one of the shows, and I fell in love with it, and I love it. And they're such talented designers. So there's things like that, comfortable sofa, a Regency daybed, because I think it's important to acknowledge the history of the interior that you live in. And so I do have Regency furniture in some Regency furniture in my rooms. I don't want them to look like a museum set, but they look great in the environment that they were meant to be in, and they're also very well priced as well. So these are fabulous things that are 200 years old, that fit my space, that weren't crazily expensive, and I was able to introduce some of those elements. I love color, so a lot of the colors in the flat have been mixed for me, and the floor is seagrass from Alternative Flooring, which I love, and it's herringbone. And I wanted seagrass because I felt it was casual and traditional and grand and not grand.
Mm-hmm.
And so the interior just came together over time. I don't throw away things. I believe that if I bought something at a stage in my life and it was good then, and that I can still, maybe reupholster it and change it a little. But I think, the things that you collect over your lifetime can stay with you for forever, and you don't need to throw everything out.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting to see how taste evolves, and you can adapt your things, put them together differently, reupholster, and
Yeah.
yet the bones, I mean, talk about bones, that apartment, but or flat, as the case
It
may
helps.
be.
The bones help. The ceilings are over 15 feet. I can't remember. They're over 15. They may be 17. So that does help, and it actually helps me justify my commute, because that's why I live here,
Mm-hmm.
because I can have access to a fabulous space.
It is a beautiful, beautiful city. Um, so one question, which we sort of have touched on throughout. Well, first, I just want to ask, how long did it take you to put this book together?
The book took 3 years.
Patience.
When you start with the original idea and you pitch it and you fine tune it, and then the book is meant as a snapshot of British design. So obviously there's a lot of people that I wanted to consider. I feel like I have 2 or 3 more books in me if my publisher will give me that.
At least.
So that took a while. I had to narrow everybody down, then to shoot, and then I wrote everything after we had photographed the interiors.
Mhm. Well, it was worth the wait.
Yeah.
So, to my last question, which is really something that we have been talking about the whole way, but British design, why does it matter? Uh,
Well,
Something we're very invested in discussing, I know.
yes, absolutely. Well, I think good design is very important because it enhances our lives. And I think that spending more time at home, you quickly realize what isn't working. What wasn't poorly, what was poorly designed, what furniture is not comfortable, et cetera, et cetera. So from a practical, point of view, good design is worth it because it enhances your life. I think British design is worth it because um, the way that British designers are trained at design schools, they're encouraged to follow their personality, to explore, and I think that that's reflected in the products that they create. And a lot of these designers are creating things that will last for a very long time. And so you're investing in something that's beautiful, that's well made, that enhances your life, that's joyful, that has a sense of humor. And and that is why the book came together, because I wanted to make sure that I celebrated the creativity that I see every day in this wonderful country where I live, and I wanted to share that with design people out there.
Oh, well, thank you so much for sharing, and thank you for being here today. And I'll say again that you can buy this book through the website interiorsacademy.com. And what else have we not said? What should we say, Emilio? How shall we end?
Available on Interiors Academy. You can buy it on Amazon, on Waterstones as well. And continue watching the Interiors Academy talks. That's something that I would definitely want to ask, because you'll get to meet other wonderful creatives.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. Thank you to everyone for coming today, and to Emilio, and enjoy the book and enjoy your weekends. All right.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye.